Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Suffolk University Presents the 10 Steps to Financial Recovery Planning During a Crisis. To begin our program, please welcome our moderator, Suffolk University trustee, Susan Ragnetta.
Well, thank you, Brian. First, a warm welcome and thank you to the Suffolk alumni and friends for joining us this evening. Also, a shout out to those that are joining us from international locations. I'd also like to thank Suffolk University for organizing this very timely and relevant topic. This is the second webinar hosted by Suffolk SUMA Society since Zoom conferencing has become our new reality. I'm Susan Ragnetta, a member of the Board of Trustees of Suffolk, and I'm also a graduate. I've spent my entire career in financial services, mostly in banking, and the last 10 years of my career with Fidelity Investments. Please note that we will be conducting a Q&A at the end of Randy's presentation. His presentation will last about 20 minutes. Please submit your questions through the Zoom chat function, and we'll try to get to as many of them as we can. I'm excited to introduce Randall Richard, who received his executive MBA at Suffolk in 1994 and is president of Richards Brothers Financial Advisors, which he founded in 1996. Randy manages the firm's overall wealth management business with specific leadership in investment management and working with high net worth business owners. He has more than 30 years experience in financial advisory, banking, and financial services. This includes leadership positions with KeyBank, UBS, Putnam Mutual Funds. He has consulted with several national and international community banks interested in developing and executing business plans to provide investment services. He is committed to his lovely family and the New England community, and he gives to many nonprofit organizations like Doctors Without Borders, Make-A-Wish, The Home, and Suffolk University. He resides in the Portland, Maine area where he enjoys golf, hiking, bike riding, and fishing. It is my pleasure to introduce Randall Richard as our speaker for tonight's webinar on the 10 steps on financial recovery planning during a crisis. Thank you. Randy, it's all yours.
Thank you, Susan. That was really a great introduction, and I'm really thrilled to be here tonight. Thank you to you. Thank you to Suffolk University, and thank you for all of you attending from all over the U.S. and internationally. So I'm really humbled. Thank you. Tonight is really an important night for me. Of course, I care very much about Suffolk University. I care a lot about the community, and I care so much for many different people that I've handled in the past and handle today. And I'm here to give back to you, and I hope that you will walk away with a few tidbits, just a few, even though I'm going to give you 10 or more, and you'll be able to use those to better your situation and have a happier life and be more successful. We've come through a very difficult time, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on that tonight, on the actual issues at hand, so that this will be a relief time for you to not have to talk about the virus count and various other things going on. But what I wanted to share is this process we're going through, this idea of this is the first time we've ever seen something. There's a lot of talk about that, but frankly, we've seen many different recessions, we've seen many different medical challenges, and we've seen many others that we've overcome over the years, and so it's not new. I personally have coached people through at least 6 different recessions. I had to go back and recount it. I was hoping it wasn't as many, but I can see it's quite a few with the years I've been doing this. And I have to say, each and every time people do say, boy, this one is very different. And of course there are different nuances, but really it's the same process. And what I want to do tonight is help you to get more grounded on how do we get through this? How do we really build back? How do we get our motivation back to really fight on? So I know it's a lot to cover, but I'm going to do my very best, and I hope you'll learn and grow. But the 3 parts of the process, I think, are the shock, fear, and denial that we went through probably in March. April, I think everybody's trying to get grounded, trying to gather themselves. And then now people are trying to figure out how do you make a change? This is not going to go away soon. It's going to be a new period. It's a new chapter. And how do I make the adjustments? And that cycle is very, very similar to every other financial crisis type situation that we've had. And if you go back and study them, you'll see those periods are very clear and pronounced. So tonight, I know you're all Suffolk graduates. You're an exceptional audience. Smarter than every other university graduate, of course. And I'm going to go through these topics. I know you're going to listen intently, and I'm sure you're going to put most of them to work probably as soon as tomorrow. But for tonight, get a glass of wine, maybe sit on the couch. You're probably a lot of you in pajamas and relaxing. I really hope so. But we're about to roll up our sleeves and get down to do some work together. So let's roll. Well, give me a second. 1 second, please. Here we go. Okay, step number 1. I hope you're taking notes. Make sure you're taking copious notes. I'm going to give you these points, but I'm going to discuss them as we go through. So point number 1, probably one of the most important steps that most people forget about, is eliminate the stress. Now, I understand we're going through a very difficult time. Things are happening that are beyond sometimes our beliefs, but it's so important if you're going to work on financial matters to clear your mind. There's all kinds of studies out there around how the mind works and how potent stress is on our body, and how hurtful it is us physically, mentally, and even affects our brain function. So when we're trying to make financial decisions and you're stressed, your brain can't process properly. So I highly encourage you, don't ever go into financial matters, whether you're having a discussion with your spouse or you're trying to figure out what's going on. You gotta clear your head. So that could be take a walk, listen to some music you love, look out at a beautiful picture, no news, no cell phone, just try to really get clear. And that, I would say, is super, super important. So please, let's make sure that we do that. I also have, just like I'm sure when you remember back when you were at school, when you're working on cases, when you're going through situations and you look at a case, boy, it seems easier when you're talking about someone else's case. But in this case, this is your life, and with that is a lot of emotions and a lot of feelings and a lot of anxiety. And when all that's going on, boy, sometimes you just can't seem to see straight. So please, even if you have to go to the extent of that, even pretending this is other people, it's really, really important to get off to that good start. Step 2. This is where we really roll up our sleeves and start to grind right into it. We need to make absolutely sure we get things out on the table. Now, don't go into this with the mindset that I'm going to fix everything. You just want to make a clean list. You want to get out your bank statements. You want to get out your credit card statements. You want to get out anything else that you collect where your expenses are. And there's all kinds of tools if this is an area you want to improve. That it's really, really important that you get them all out on the table and simply get them in a list. So step 1, make sure you get that out there. We're going to go through the expenses, not because it's fun, but because it's really, really important to diagnose what's going on and really learn. So this is really an important step. So please, very, very important that you do that. Now, as you go down through your list, you're going to make, of course, you're going to be putting on, your mortgage payment, your electrical payment, golf memberships, various other things, but get them all on the list. Once you finish that, I want you to take a second. I want you to just look down through that list, and I want you to be thinking which ones here are either a need or a want or both. Okay, I'll repeat that again. So N for need, must have it, want it, it's a preference, or it's some of both. And I can give you a couple examples. Electricity. Now, it's pretty hard to live in a developed world without electricity. I think we'd all agree. So that one I would say is clearly a need. A want, an example of that might be a golf club or a social membership. You want to be there. Yeah, it can help your business. It can help you meet people, etc. I know all that. However, it really, if you have to be in that group, you want to be. So that one you'd identify a want. And now there's others like, let's say, transportation or car. And yes, you need transportation. You got to get to work. You have things you need to do. You got to bring the kids. You got to go to the doctor, what have you. But do you need the Maserati, or can you have another type of vehicle? So it's really, really important that you take a look at this list. And again, I'm not about doom and glooming and not spending money and being living on $5 a week, but it's just really important that you understand in your life, what am I spending my money on? Is it going to needs, wants, or both? Now I want you to tally those up by those categories. So when you look down those lists, tally the whole list, then tally the needs, tally the wants, and then the both. Okay, so I hope you're not trying to do this on the fly, but that's really an important step. When you finish that, I want you to take a closer look and see, does anything stick out for you? And just put a star next to it. Just something that you see, you go, wow, gee, are we spending that much on eating out? Something like that. Just put a star there. But don't again, you're not trying to dig too deep, but just star it, and we're going to move on. Next is your monthly income sources. Now, right now, of course, this is a really serious issue for many. Is what is that? What does that look like? Is your business closed, or have you been you're being furloughed, or you on unemployment? You're getting you're getting various checks. You're not getting rental checks from your tenants. So what is going on? But it's really, really important to, again, keep your emotions clear and really look at it and say, okay, what is the monthly income that I know I have coming, and list those out. So paychecks, pensions, rental income, investment income, maybe there's money that a family member owes you and they're still paying every month. List them all out and make sure that is clear. Also, if you have some other ideas on income that you just haven't put in place, just jot them down there. Maybe you have a bunch of things over the garage. You have a lot of items that are worth something that have been sitting there for about 5 years. Maybe you're going to work on getting rid of those, selling them on eBay or Facebook. So it's really, really important. If you have some quick ideas, just jot them down. Don't spend a lot of time grinding into them, but just capture them. Okay. Now we're on to step 4. Create a conservative list of your personal assets. Now, this is really important to make sure that you list everything. And I want you to enjoy the appreciation of what you've accumulated in your life. You'd be surprised how many times people don't have a understanding of what their actual assets are. Some people have millions and they never realize it because they never added it up. So enjoy this part of the exercise. Start to look at real estate, commercial, land, business interests that you own, investments, portfolios, any loans, any artwork, any cash value in life insurance. Put all that great stuff down and give it a value. You can look at statements, but things like a business value, give it a realistic value from some information that And if not, you can again, do a little bit of work there and getting a thumbnail on what that is. So give each one a total and add that up. Step 5, create a list of all your debts. So like the assets, sometimes they align with the debts, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're totally not related. So it's really, really important that you get a clear list of, okay, what is it? There is so much anxiety around debt. If debt is used properly and responsibly, then there's no issue. You know, it's a great use of money. And frankly, right now with interest rates so low, it's a fantastic time to borrow money. So for those that have done an excellent job with their financial planning and can handle the extra debt, it's really a great time to do it. It's also a great time to refinance debt. So when you have some things that were at higher rates, it's really, really important that you take a look at this list. So make a list of all the debts. Again, come clean, put it down. I know a lot of people, oh, geez, I forgot about that. Put it on there. I know you know it's there. Put the due date when that loan is done. Put the interest rate, and then put the monthly payment. And now it's time to move on. But if you haven't finished, I'm going to take a time out. If you haven't finished steps 2, 3, 4, and 5 that I just reviewed, then don't go any further, okay? So you got to go back and finish those other sections. Make sure you got that information down. It's really, really important you finish the job here, because this is like going to the doctor's office, doing the blood work, and saying, the doctor says you really ought to get an x-ray on that ankle, and you say, I'll do that later. What do you need that for? Can't you just estimate the break? No, you've got to make sure you finish the job. So same here. All right, let's keep it moving. So I hope you haven't hung up. I hope you haven't left. I guess if you have, you wouldn't want to hear me. But take a break. Again, we're back to clearing the mind. I after completing those other sections, frankly, I would even do it another day, because sometimes when you go through that and you see it, you feel ill. you don't feel so good as you see things that you're not really happy about. So I would advise you, if you're moving right along, you get all the data, you've been collecting it already. You know, those of you that are QuickBooks fans and have everything organized, maybe you can move through those other sections quickly, and you know, you're good with it. So you have the energy to move on. But I really think you should make absolutely sure you got a clear mind and you take a break. Now, the reason I say that is you're really going to be thinking differently. You're not, you know, those other steps, you're going to think like an accountant. Just get the number, put it down, move on. In this area, you now want to take a broader look. You want to really look wider at yourself, which is not easy, but you can do it if you really have a fresh mind and a clear head. So really, what we're going to do now is take a look at things, really, to see where is, you know, where in your mix should you be spending your time? As you looked over your cash flow, as you looked over some of the other areas, what did you see? What are some things that really stuck out for you? And again, start to make a list of some things that were just frankly obvious to you. So make sure you absolutely do that. Now it's time to talk about goals, life goals. And what's really important about life goals is never quit on them. I see so many times where people go through a matter like this and they make rash, quick decisions. They don't get organized. They don't go through those other steps. They don't clear the mind. They don't start to look at the whole picture. And they start to do things that really hurt their future plans. You know, they sabotage where they're trying to go. So it's really, really important to not do that. To really, yes, there's issues right now that you got to work on. We got to get through. And I'm going to give you more tips in a second on how to pound through that. but it's really important for this step with goals. Why? You say, well, why bother? I'm a retirement. I'm just trying to get through next week and next month. Why are we? But I have to tell you, it's critically important because it's your motivation. It's your purpose. It's your driver. If you don't have this going, you're going to grind yourself right into the ground without any motivation. It's critical to your success of this whole thing if you have clear goals of where you're going. It's the fuel. It's the motivation. So don't gyp yourself, please. I beg of you. Make sure you still have your future goals and plans. Now, make sure those goals are, I'm sure you've seen some of this and maybe heard some of it, but SMART goals, you can go online and find that. They've got to be simple or specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. And again, there's a bunch of really great information on that, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. But I want you to make sure that you do set specific goals. Now, goals like, I just want to be happy and not worry about money anymore. It's so general. It's too fuzzy. You got to get more meat on that. Maybe something I would suggest, something in the line of, hey, I want to know that I have multiple income sources that I can draw from to support my basic living expense, so I know everything is covered, and I want to start that at age 55. No, that's covered. How about that as a goal? How about when every one of my children go to college, I want to be able to give them $20,000, put that in their account so they have that to spend. That's a specific goal. I'm going to fight for those. I want to be free of my basic expenses. I love my kids and I want to see them go to college. And there's many, many, many more. So you got to get that meaning there, because all of your other investments, all of your other assets, all of your other debts, those are all there to drive the goals, to drive the purpose. So if that's disconnected in your life, and hopefully I'm here to right that ship, you really must work on that. It's critically important. So when you're doing goals, it's okay to extend them out. You don't have to have them all tomorrow. You can set various dates, and you can also move dates out and in, but you want to keep progressing. That's what you just want to keep measuring. How close am I getting? Because you're always moving. If you set it as a goal, you write it down, you're going to work on it. And if you keep reviewing it, I assure you, you're going to get there. Do this for me. Look at that list, and I want you to write down 3 words, just like we did with the expenses. Which ones are the needs, which ones are the wants, and which ones are the wishes. And that might also help you to just get your timelines in order, know which ones to work on first. If having a house in Switzerland is something you always dreamed of, maybe that's a wish. But hey, if all of your family lives there and you're a citizen of that country, then maybe you do want to live there. So really spend some time reflecting on those 3 things and get them in the right order, and put some dates out there. Never have a goal that you don't have an end game. There's no finish to it. Even if you have to move it, you've got to put something out there. And I guarantee you, if you do it and you share it and you review it, you're going to achieve. Okay, back to the income and expenses. The only reason I'm saying go back to it, what's getting in the way of your goals? Why don't you have it now? Why aren't you there already? Well, you have a certain amount of assets, and hopefully those assets are in the right position and align with your goals. If not, you will need to work on that, to be thinking what are things positioned at. But really, this is where kind of the 911, the situation we're in right now, it's really causing most of the pressure. So we got to work on this as a priority. So you got to look at your income and your expenses, and you got to net the 2. So as we did those other worksheets, your income and expense summaries, you got to net those out. And I'm sure you know how to do that. So if you have excess, congratulations, fantastic. You now have extra income to apply towards those goals. So right away, you can be looking at, all right, well, geez, I kind of wondered where that extra 1,000 a month was going. What can I do with that? Well, just put it in the checking account. No, stinking thinking. You want to be putting that towards your future goals, investing, and doing various other things that will get you there. So really important if you have excess. If it's flat, your income and expenses are about the same, well, guess what? That's too tight. And people that operate just on a flat budget, let me tell you, they run into trouble because things come up. And you need to make sure you have enough in short-term savings when that comes up, and you need to have enough credit lines available to get you through it. But really, you don't want to be flat. You want to tighten the expenses, or you want to find ways of bumping up that income to just give you a little room for just life's issues. Really, really important. Now, the fun one, or I should say, the more challenging one, is the deficit, right? The shortfall. Wow, you'll take a look at it, you go, now I can see why my credit cards keep going up. I have a shortfall of $1,000 a month. And now after some of the changes that my income with work and, oh, geez, what am I going to do? Now I can see it's even worse. So yeah, you can go hide out, or you can go to work on this. And of course, I'm here to tell you, let's work on it. It's only money. Let's get down to it. What are the expenses? Let's look now closer at the wants and the needs. Maybe some of those wants, need to be tightened up or eliminated. You don't have to do them all at once, but you can start working down through that list. Say, well, hit this one and this one. I'm going to make my way. Guess what? You just keep making progress and do it as quickly as you can. But if there is a shortfall, you must make this the number one priority. You got to get on that, and because that is going to turn into debt that you don't need. It's going to also you're also going to stop paying on your mortgages and on your other debts, and so you're going to get in trouble with credit. So you got to make sure you're on that and clear that up. So what can you do as far as your those other assets that you have? Can you refinance some of the debt? Can you get on the phone with your bankers? Yes, you can. This is the best time, frankly, to get on and discuss other options. Maybe they can lower the rate, change the terms. Maybe you can, use assets from certain places. Maybe you can actually turn on income from some of your assets as well. That's something that I think a lot of people forget about is sometimes things are reinvesting. You have maybe a mutual fund or a property that you're putting it back into that particular asset. But gee, maybe for a period of time, you want to stop that. Then take that money and use it because you got a deficit here. You got to fill. So really put your thinking cap on, and I challenge you to find those opportunities and get excited about it. Get your family around it. If you have kids, share with them that, hey, this is important, and they're going to learn so much and enjoy the process way more than you imagine. So really, really important. So ask an expert, right? So it almost sounds like I'm quitting on this, but there's a lot going on. There is a ton going on in your lives. I'm positive of it, and I know you're all successful, and you're doing everything you can do to be the best you can be. What's really critically important, and I see this so often, is people try to learn about financial matters like we're doing tonight, and then do it all themselves. And you can do that. And maybe someday you want to be a financial advisor and work at Richard Brothers. Well, you know me now, give me a call. But I'm here to tell you that you should be thinking in terms of who, not how. You have a profession. You are doing something successful in your career. You can learn, you can be engaged, but you don't need to be the expert. But you need to know how to gather the experts. This is critical. I see such a difference between the very, very high net worth successful people and those that just can't seem to get that ball rolling. And it's right here. It's doing the other steps, and then it's building an expert team around you. Think of yourself as a CEO of your life. I'm the CEO and I'm hiring the best management team I can. I look around the table, what do I see? The best banker, the best insurance agent, the best financial advisor, the best realtor, the best insurance agent, all these professionals around me that help me to do great things. And if you look at organizations, time and time again, great leaders know how to find great people and build relationships around them. And it's really, really important. I see a lot of times where people have the
Randy,
same advisor.
you're on mute.
I'm on mute, okay.
Still can't hear you.
Hello?
There you are. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. Sorry. Thank you, Susan. So it's really, really important that that we take a look at that and make sure you have that A team surrounding you. Don't use him. I always use Charlie. Well, I'm sure Charlie's a great guy, but maybe he hasn't developed. Maybe he was good for buying a basic life insurance policy or helping you with a car insurance. But now, hey, you need an A player. You're not messing around with B or C players. So build a relationship, engage them. Hey, you got to come clean with these people. Share the information that we talked about earlier. Gather all that information, get your little folder or however you want to bring it, and start to share it with each one and get their help. They will give you the answers to overcome obstacles all the way through. Don't gyp yourself and don't gyp them. They're there. They want to help you. A lot of times you'd be shocked at how many financial professionals are underutilized, not because they're not willing to, they're not engaged enough. They're like, well, the person seemed fine. They moved on. I got things to do too. So it's really, really important that you form that relationship with the right team, you engage that team, and meet with them regularly. Have a meeting or two a year with all of them together. You're going to be shocked at what you achieve. This is your board. This is your personal board. And I'll tell you what, you're going to get so much value out of it. It's incredible. And you're going to make some changes. There's going to be some people that stop going to those meetings or start to complain about this, that, and the other thing, or they never bring anything to the table. It's okay to excuse them. Hey, they were great. Nothing personal. I'm making a change. So really, really important to get that A team in your camp. So the other stuff, yeah, really, really important. If you don't do it, then you can't show up with your information. This is super, super important. So I don't want to go on and on, Susan. You're probably going to cut me off here in a second. I think I'm rambling, but I really want to make sure that I just give you a couple of thoughts, and I'm going to give you some homework in a second. I'm going to congratulate you all right now for taking the action steps, signing up for this, hearing me out, saying, you know what, this guy must know what he's talking about. He's been doing this his whole life, and do what I'm saying, please. It will help you. But really, and teach your kids. Don't be afraid to include them in the process. I see too many times children are sheltered from this, and then they get it when they grow up. They don't know how to handle their own money because they've never seen it. So here's a quick homework assignment. I'm going to ask you some questions, and these are for you to answer. What is really worrying you right now, and can I actually write it down? 2. Are you worried about matters out of your control? Are your expectations unrealistic or too idealistic and you can never reach them? From your experience of the last few months, have you learned something? Has something come out where you say, I knew it. I didn't. What is that? Write that down. What is really frustrating you? Write that down. Are you looking for others to blame? Are you blaming the Chinese, the poor Chinese? Are you blaming other people for what's happened, your boss? Or no, write it down. When it comes to money, what are your strengths? When you're thinking about your finances, where do you really do a great job and where do you need work? And just 2 more. Are you really sure of what your needs and your wants and your wishes are? Really? Maybe give that more time. Think about it. And how are you going to fix your financial situation so that it's sustainable through any situation? That's critical.
Okay. So we have a number of questions that have come in, and there seems to be one of the general themes, Randy, is around 401ks and retirement planning. So I'm going to try and pull these together so that we can get to as many of the thoughts that are coming through as folks are submitting their chat questions. The first one is, my 401k is in very bad shape. Are target date mutual funds still a good idea?
Great question. Yes, they are. I think that those were a great choice when they first came out. I was so glad to see that, because a lot of times people start in a 401k and they just don't know what to do. You know, they a little bit of money to start, you know, in their profession, and they pick a fund and hopefully don't pick the wrong one. So these are really an easy button to be able to say, all right, I know I'm probably going to be working till 65. Boom, throw it in there and let the fund do its work. So they're great. But I have to tell you, when you start to get above 25, let's say 25 to 50,000, you really have room now to widen that out. You know, you have one fund that's taking care of it, but frankly, you got one manager. You're not picking, you know, you're kind of not sure what's inside the fund at all times. So I encourage people to not necessarily get rid of the target date fund, but start to add other funds. And at that point, if you have that kind of money you started to put away, you really want to have an overall plan that aligns with your retirement funds. So don't quit on them. But again, if you haven't done a lot of diversification, it's time to do that. And the other thing I would just let you know is, you know, we do plans for families. We're using 92 for men and 94 for women. So when you start to go, well, I'm gonna pick a you know, target fund for 65, that's way too young. You know, it's you gotta go way longer. So yeah, they work, but I think there's more work you can do. The other point I'll make on them, and I think this is, if you're in this situation, the person answering the question, if you're within a year right now of retirement and you're in those funds, and you're probably saying, oh, geez, they're down, you know, no, don't pick tomorrow to sell it. It's a tough time. We've got some volatility in the market. So you really want to start building cash systemically between now and the end of the year, just to take away, again, these are unusual times in that regard. So I would suggest starting to get more conservative, because you're going to be making a transition soon.
So we had a question come in. This is from a young professional that's wondering whether or not they should put a hold on their contributions to their 401k for the next 6 months, given the volatility in the market.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to start first by answering with, did you do the earlier assignment? You know, you got to go through that. What is really going on? You know, I would dig there first. That's where the rod is. Go there, see what you can fix there, because you're giving up a tremendous benefit in your retirement, your 401k. You got to match. Most companies match. So you doubled your money immediately. You've also got the tax, you've reduced your taxable income. So you've got the benefit of that, paying less in taxes, and that money grows tax-free, tax-deferred, for the future. Unless you use a Roth, of course, then it's tax-free. But really, really important to not drop it on that. And as we went back to the long-term goals, hey, you're going to get old. You're going to need money. You're going to need a nest egg for the later, irrelevant of what's going on now. But if it's really legitimate, where you're down to those core expenses only, and you're really in a bind, bad, yeah, okay, I could probably live with it. But boy, it would be one of the last things I would touch, frankly.
So there's also a lot of questions, Randy, around people curious, somewhat related to this, but a little bit different. You know, people that realize they want to stay in their 401k, but they're concerned about any adjustments that they should be making. You know, people have commented on the fact that they feel as if they're, you know, pretty well diversified. That's coming through on the chat questions. But even so, they're wondering, is there something special that they should be doing in the way of adjustments given the market situation and the volatility and the uncertainty?
Yes. Absolutely. Unfortunately, the kind of thing I see too often is people spend years kind of jumping around, trying to time in and out. You don't want to be doing that. Okay, so don't. This is not a trading account, so stay away from that. You're gonna take so many steps back. You're not going to take a step forward. You want consistent return. You want an allocation. I mean, a mix of various investments, and then they're all in those. All the 401ks have a wide range. If yours doesn't, you should complain to your HR department that they need to get a new retirement plan. But most plans have a lot of choices. You should have a wide array. You should have large cap stocks. You should have mid cap, small cap. You should have bonds, strategic bonds. Various high quality. You also have international. You want to have international developed, emerging market. You want alternative strategies. You want all of those in there. Not to just make a long list, but each one of those has return potential and the risk. They're not correlated, so they offset the risk of the other pieces. So it's super important you have an overall allocation that really is diversified. Then during times like this, as your question asked was, what do I do? That's going to change over time, right? Certain asset classes are going to be higher than others based on the market conditions. So if your bond allocation now is 10% higher because the equity has gone down and the bond side is up, then hey, guess what? Yeah, take some money out of the bonds and put it in the equity side. You should be rebalancing, and a lot of the funds now have auto rebalancing. So if you haven't checked that on, you really, get the right balance and then make sure you have that on. It will automatically do it for you. If you didn't do it, this is a time to do it. And please don't make the home run call, bet the farm on that horse. Don't do it. But yes, really, really important to have a right mix. And remember, I'm just going to tuck this in if I have time here, is if I have $1 million and I lose 20%, how much do I have? Susan, you got to answer that. 800,000. Sorry. 800,000. Okay, so I got 800,000. I lost 20%. Well, the next year my portfolio is up 20%. What's my portfolio at? Back to $1 million, right? No, it's not.
Right.
20% of 800,000, right? So you don't get back. So you're like, wait a minute, but I earned 20%. It's on a lower amount of money. So what's critical is don't lose money. It's better. Upside is really, really important. But guess what? Protecting on the downside is number one. And then secondly is get as much return as you can within that risk parameter. So that, I have to tell you, not to boast too much here, but that's why our clients are happy, because we do that first. And so I tell everybody, it's not popular, and when the markets are killing it and you're not quite ahead of it, oh geez, how come? Well, it's because we're preparing for the downside protection. So you should always have that going on in your portfolio. Really important.
That's right. So I think we'll do one more question on sort of retirement planning, and then we'll move into, because we're getting a number of questions also, Randy, just sort of general market, general investing type questions. But okay. So we had, at one end, we had the young professional asking a question, right? But we also have a number of seniors that are joining us, and folks that are either very close to retirement or a senior retiree, basically someone who's in retirement. And their questions, I'll just add, it's should they be switching their 401k into government securities?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Basically getting out of the market, basically.
Yes. So of course, moving money out of that account is a taxable event, right? So you can if you're still in your company retirement plan, your 401k plan, then yeah, you may want to move it into an IRA, roll it over to an IRA. So you'll have more choices. And then in that IRA, I would suggest not all government bonds, but a fixed in. If you really said, "Hey, look, I've done all the other exercises. We're running out of money. We've had some illness in the family, and we really are going to need money in the next 6 to 12 months." Then yes, I would say it's fine to do that. But if that is not the case, you have excess money, you have steady cash flow. Don't do it for investment reasons, because I got to tell you, with interest rates going down the way they have, people that are putting money in intermediate or long-term government bonds, they could lose money in the interim. I mean, yeah, you have to wait to maturity if you own them all outright, but you could see some downside because there's been so much money going into that just, for a period of time. I would caution you to all into government bonds. It's not the end of the world that we're going through. We're going through a period of readjustment. We're going through a period of changes, and you really still need to have a diversified portfolio. So I hope that answers your question, that's the case. But certainly, I don't think I don't know the exact age you are and such, but you don't need to make guesses. I wouldn't suggest foreign bonds or emerging market debt or things like that, because it has a higher yield. But making sure you have a good capital preservation component, and then make sure you still have growth, because hey, people are retiring at 70, and like I said earlier, living in the 90s. And I just got back from a conference a few weeks ago talking about the future and all the biotech information that's coming out. They're saying, geez, you could live to 150. I mean, I sometimes, I scratch my head, but I don't know what to do with the models. We had to extend people's life expectancy out. And I think it's real. I really, the more they tell me about it, it just isn't commercialized. So don't plan for the end soon. Be thinking, this is still money that I'm going to need to draw on for a long time. So if you get too conservative, then guess what? You're going to feel the effects of inflation over time, and that's no good either.
Right. Yeah, because as I read through the questions, I think that part of where that's, where the concern is people that are either very close to retirement, just getting into retirement. I think what I read here is that they're worried about, well, how long will it take for the market to come back?
Okay.
They just experienced, a big dip in the market. Should they should they move now into securities and protect what they have? Or, do you think like within the number that was put out there is within 5 years, do you think it will come back?
Okay.
And that's,
okay.
That's like looking into the crystal ball.
Right, exactly. Let me get it out. I got it in the desk back here. See if the batteries are still working. Absolutely don't know. I don't know exactly, but I'll tell you this. I think the market has been very resilient over the last 3 weeks. We've been looking for a U-shaped recovery. Just don't know how long that the bottom of the U is going to go. So I think we're touching the bottom of that based on the information that's out there. Keep in mind, there's a lot of trailing indicators. You hear news all the time about things, and it's the past, right? So that's fine, and you just keep stringing them along and hope it. But the market is a future. It predicts the future. And why? Because people are anticipating from knowledge they know what's coming. So in itself, it's going to be early. So this is why so often people can, during times like this, sell now that it's down, then liquidate, and then, geez, it came back. How come I didn't know? Well, what indicator would tell you when to get back in? It's almost impossible to know when to get back. So yes, you should have an allocation that's right. I'm not saying all in on stock. I'm saying a diversified model is really important. But trying to see what the equity markets are, the U.S. equity market, it really, I don't think it's going to be 5 years. It's going to be less, but it's certainly, we're looking at a U in my opinion.
Right. Okay, that's good. So the other thing that's coming across is a number of questions around savings and whether or not you have any guidelines or suggestions around what people should be thinking about when it comes to savings, whether it's a minimum amount or how much they should be saving monthly or how much savings they should have sort of socked away. If you
Mhm.
could, sort of talk about that a little bit, I think that will cover a number of questions that have come through.
Oh, great. I think that's a great question. And I think this is the key to long-term investing. I know we're talking about short-term money, but this is where people get in trouble, right? If you don't have this short-term, you don't have the cash flow working, and you don't have the short-term bucket built, the savings bucket, guess what? You start to invest long-term and you get in trouble. Now you gotta dig into that long-term, and it may be the wrong time. So it's very, very important that you segregate the long-term assets with the long-term goals and you accumulate enough in short-term savings. So how much do you need to put there? That's a great question. I usually recommend, and this depends on where people are professionally, somebody who's a policeman or plumber, most likely nothing happens, right? They're essential. They'll always work, or you work in a hospital as a doctor. I mean, you're not gonna have a problem finding work. So you could probably be 6 months. So take your income, 6 months, and work on putting that away. Okay, not the net, just the total. So that covers you. So once you have that, well, if I'm unemployed for 6 months, I've got all my basic needs covered. Now, if you're in a job that's more commission orientated, bonus orientated, you have your own business, now you might want to go 12 to 18 months. And how you make up that short term could be also, a credit line. So it's liquidity you really want to generate, cash and liquidity. You don't want to have too much there because keep in mind, interest rates are very low. And, if you really have a negative return after inflation at this point. So you don't want to have too much in cash. Sometimes I see people over nervous, like, well, I got 500, I got $1 million in cash just in case. Like, you don't need that. I mean, it's too much. So be realistic about what you need. And again, I would have to dig further into the person's financial situation. But if you know of, this is the other thing I wanted to just say, if you know of a pending problem, whatever that is, hey, my septic system, the roof, I know I'm going to need an extra 10,000. I mean, I just know it. Okay, throw that in that bucket too. Don't mess around with, I'm going to wait and see. Just get it in there. Okay, so that's the stuff that keeps people up at night, and you make silly mistakes. So get that bucket filled.
So I think we have time just for one more question. And
Okay.
I think, we had a lot of questions that have come in around, the benefit of annuities. People want to talk about sort of Roth IRAs. They want to talk about bonds. And we're just not going to have time to get to all of them.
Okay. Oh, come on.
There is one question, actually, and this has come through a number of times, Randy. People are, and I think it might help with the stuff that we're not going to get to. People want to know either what you read or what they should be thinking about reading to build their knowledge in this space so they can become, a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more confident in understanding what we're talking about here, the different investment vehicles and how to approach this.
Okay. Oh, that's a great question. Well, so many there. I would say one of my favorite reads is The Economist. Now, you might say, well, geez, I'm not an economist, but I'll tell you why I like the magazine so much. Because there's 2 pages in that magazine to read. One is politics, world politics, and what's going on with various things. And the other one is business. And in a very quick period of time, you can really get a beat. And that's a weekly read. And I really enjoy it. And for anything in there that is of particular intellectual interest, then I'll read deeper into the article. I try to read the whole magazine because I enjoy it, but I really like it because I think investing, you're not a trader. You're not going to be an analyst, most of you. So you really want a broad scope of what's going on, and it's clear there. But let me tell you, you're never going to hear anything in any of those publications about it's time to do this, it's better to do that. If anything, the things you're going to read about are always trailing, and they even make up stories about what they think the reason that the market did X was because of something else. I used to have a friend that used to do that for a job. They would call them and say, all right, the market is down 300 today. What happened? And he would just come up with an answer. He's just like, oh yeah, that was oil that caused that. Because, blah, blah, blah. This is something to be concerned about. So don't look there for the answers. Really, you need a broad scope of your financial situation. When you're reading, read wider. Of course, you want to keep up what's going on. So of course, I use, I get a lot of financial information from all the investment firms I work with. So I read a lot of that. But that's because that's my stuff, right? Those are my manuals. Other than that, I think you really ought to rely on your advisors and let them keep up on the details. This is a tough game. It's just a lot of information. So to think you're going to outsmart everybody and do it yourself, yeah, good luck. It's not easy. Even among us professionals, we have to work together. It's really, really tough. So hope that answered some of that question.
That's great. That's very helpful. So, at this point, I just want to thank you. I mean, you provided a very thoughtful, a very helpful framework for folks to think about this topic, and I certainly found it very insightful. So thank you. And I'm going to turn it back to you, Randy, for sort of the closing statements.
Okay, thank you, Susan. It's been, I wish I could see everybody else, but it's been a pleasure to see you and chat with you. This is like a personal call. I really enjoyed our time together, and frankly, I can't thank Suffolk enough for putting this together. I know we all, can't say enough great things about the university, but this was brought to you by the Summa Society, and our good friends, Logan Sheehan and Corey and Brian are on that team in the Summa Society, which is a Suffolk leadership giving society at Suffolk. And I'll tell you what, I have a close relationship because I choose to. I want to be involved. I want to give back. And I encourage every one of you to do the things I said tonight. Find a little room. Maybe it's not this year, maybe next year. There's room. I guarantee you I can find room in everybody's budget here to make a donation to Suffolk. And you're going to feel great about it because they've done so much for you and your family. And if I guess some of the people out there are even considering Suffolk, hey, this is a lifetime. This is a relationship. And so I think it's super important. And I hope I've given you some great information tonight. So, hey, that would be great if Logan or Corian called me and said, hey, after the event, we really got a lot of support. So that would mean a lot to me, and I'm sure to you, Susan, as well. So let me just close with a couple of thoughts, and then I'll let you finish up your night. But first off, I guess I just want to say that this has been a time of loss. I don't want to end by saying oh, we don't want to talk about that. This has been a tough period, and of course we're all feeling what's happened. The medical people have done, and the deaths that have happened. I mean, it's been a very, very emotional time. So hey, let's all recognize it and let's process it because it's important. And we've all made sacrifices. You've made sacrifices. In a lot of ways, I think people have even forgotten that we all went home, and some of us had to shut down our businesses to save lives. It wasn't just for fun. I mean, it wasn't just, we did that so we didn't have another Spanish flu situation like they did in the early 1900s. So again, I think this is a time of empathy. Second, can you believe the work that's being done in the medical profession? And can you imagine the poor scientists trying to come up with a solution? And they're trying their darndest. And our leaders are pushing on every button. It's really, everybody is trying. And And I think it's great to see it. It's functioning. And I want to assure you that the financial fundamentals that we talked about tonight, the financial area, it's still in play. Don't quit on the whole system. That is, you're really, don't hurt yourself like that. So just let this play through like every other business time. Make great decisions. Do your homework, and really look at it this way. You know, this is a time of change. This is a new chapter. This is a time of innovation. This is a time where things like artificial intelligence could be accelerated. This is a time where medical advances, we look at the money flowing into medicine. What a great field to get into, right? Into that. So innovation, happier lives, life balance. I think for a lot of people, it's been a real grounding time to say, hey, let's get back to basics. You know, maybe I was getting a little too, letting it get away from me. So let's celebrate that. That's coming. We're at that point. So I just want to leave you with, let's not quit. We're amazing humans. We are adaptable. We are smart. We're figuring it out, and the future is brighter. It is a lot brighter than today. So don't ever quit on that. And I think I put a quote up here. You've got to believe. If you believe you can, you're halfway there, is what Teddy Roosevelt said. So I think that was a kind of a great way to end it. And I wish you all the best. And if I can ever do anything, I'm on LinkedIn, and you probably find me out there 2 seconds. Hey, keep in touch with me. Let me know how your goals are. And I really happy to be with you tonight. So have a great night, everybody. Really.